Picture this. It's July 1999, Sun Valley, Idaho. There's this gleaming Gulfstream 4-feet jet waiting, the biggest private plane in the world back then.
Right.
And out steps one of the richest men on the planet, Warren Buffett, carrying his own suitcase. He even drove himself to the airport.
It's such a striking image, isn't it? That contrast.
It really is. Welcome, everyone, to Book Talk Finance. Today, we are diving into the extraordinary life and mind of this financial titan.
And we're doing it through the pages of a really remarkable biography, The Snowball, by Alice Schroeder.
Exactly. And this book, it's not just, a story about getting rich. It's this fascinating journey into the principles, the quirks, the insights that really shaped Warren Buffett.
Yeah, into the investor and the person he became. Alice Schroeder, the author.
Yeah.
She gives us this incredible look. It's not just what he did, but really the why and the how.
It's so well done. Now, if you're as excited about digging into these insights as we are, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel after this book talk. We'll have even more discussions and explorations there.
Definitely worth checking out. But back to Buffett. That image of him carrying his own bag, it sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? Immense wealth, but this kind of personal humility.
Almost an awkwardness, yeah. It feels like to really understand him, you've got to go right back to the beginning, his formative years.
Oh, absolutely. And what's amazing is how early that entrepreneurial drive kicked in. I mean, as a kid, he and his buddy Stu Erickson were selling used golf balls.
At the Elmwood Park golf course, right, until they got kicked out.
Yeah, the police literally chased them off. But his parents, Howard and Layla, their reaction wasn't, anger. They just saw him as ambitious.
Which is pretty telling in itself, isn't it? Like, they recognized this drive, even if the method was maybe a bit dodgy.
And it wasn't just golf balls. He was meticulous about money from day one, collecting cash mostly, writing it all down in this little maroon passbook.
His first bank account started with $20 from his dad when he was 6 years old.
Incredible focus. Then there were the paper routes in Spring Valley, delivering every single day, even Christmas.
Handling all the money himself, jars of half dollars and quarters.
And he wasn't just collecting money, he was analyzing systems, reading true crime stories to figure out letter frequencies in print shops.
Okay, that's kind of weirdly specific.
Right. Or figuring out how to, scam soda machines by pulling the plug.
Yeah.
And spotting pinball machines near Griffith Stadium as a gold mine.
So it's not just earning, it's finding the angles, the inefficiencies.
Exactly. It's an analytical mind already hard at work, even with horse racing.
Oh, yeah, studying the forms like crazy. Making small bets, $6, $10.
But learning that crucial lesson, fold fast when odds were bad and bet heavily when they were good. That's pure risk assessment right there.
He even lost $175 once, which must have been a fortune for a kid back then.
A huge lesson in loss. But beyond these schemes, his family life was, complex.
Yeah, the book paints quite a picture. His mother, Layla.
She sounds incredibly difficult. Verbal lashings, calling the kids worthless, ungrateful, apparently until they cried. Especially hard on his sister Doris.
Wow, that leaves scars.
Deep damage, the book says. And she was obsessed with social standing, daughters of the American Revolution, that sort of thing.
So a really tough emotional environment. What about his father, Howard? Was he a contrast?
He seems to have provided a sort of basic decency. He let Warren get away with more, maybe. His dad was also in politics.
Right, and he lost an election after voting for the Taft-Hartley Act.
Yeah, a controversial anti-union law. Showed conviction, maybe, but cost him politically. And Howard had strong views on money, too. He thought government bonds would become worthless paper.
Which led him to break a will, his Uncle Frank's will.
Exactly. The will said only invest in bonds, but Howard invested in stocks instead. So you see these strong financial convictions, maybe even stubbornness in the family.
And it goes back further, right? Grandfather Ernest.
Ernest Buffett. Ran a grocery store, a real perfectionist, disliked chain stores, apparently made Warren go buy bread at Hinky Dinky, which Warren hated.
Why did he hate it?
Because the clerks would yell out his name, and Ernest also made anti-Semitic remarks using code words.
Eskimos, for Jews, the book mentions. It reflects that social segregation in Omaha back then.
Definitely a product of its time. Jews and Christians living pretty separate lives.
So with all that, the family dynamics, the social setting, it's maybe not surprising he felt, out of whack? Socially awkward?
Yeah, socially inept, especially with girls, and particularly when he went to Penn. He even signed up for a Dale Carnegie course.
But then stopped the check. Lost his nerve.
Exactly. It paints this picture of a really brilliant kid who was just intensely awkward socially.
That duality is fascinating. The social unease, but this incredible intellectual hunger.
And that hunger really drove his next phase, his intellectual awakening.
Which brings us to a key moment, getting rejected by Harvard Business School. Sounds devastating, but it turned out to be pivotal.
Hugely pivotal, because it led him to look elsewhere, and he found Benjamin Graham and David Dodd, the Columbia Catalog.
And Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, the source says it blew apart the conventions of Wall Street. How radical was it, really?
Yeah. Oh, it was revolutionary for its time. Wall Street was so much about speculation, tips, emotion. Graham brought this rational mathematical approach.
Thinking of stocks not as tickers, but as pieces of a business.
Exactly. Value the whole pie, then divide it up. And he was incredibly risk-averse, looking for companies worth more dead than alive.
The cigar butt approach. Find a company so cheap you can get one last puff of value out of it before it's gone.
That's the famous analogy, yeah. Just squeeze out that last bit of value from the liquidation. Graham also preached diversification, not putting too many eggs in one basket.
Which makes Buffett's own early moves even more interesting, because he didn't always stick to the script, did he?
Not at all. Take Marshall Wells, that hardware wholesaler. He and his dad bought shares together.
His first annual meeting.
Yeah.
And he noticed they held it in New Jersey.
Right, probably so fewer shareholders would show up. Even then, he's noticing those corporate maneuvers.
But Geico was the big one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A huge departure from Graham.
A massive departure. Graham was all about diversification, buying below asset value. But Buffett learned about Geico from Lorimer Davidson.
Who opened the door to the insurance world for him.
And Buffett just went for it. Put 3/4 of his entire net worth into Geico stock. 350 shares.
3/4, wow. Why?
Because he saw its incredible growth potential. Even though the price didn't fit Graham's strict buy below asset value rule, he saw something special. The book calls it an extraordinary move for the normally cautious young man.
It really shows his own instincts developing, separate from his mentor.
Definitely. An early glimpse of the Buffett we know now, backing great businesses with conviction. Around this time, he also met Walter Schloss.
Another Graham Newman guy.
Yeah, and Schloss really hammered home that idea that wealth is hard to accumulate and easy to lose, reinforcing that cautious side.
So he's soaking all this up. What was it actually like working for Graham at Graham Newman? He offered to work for free, right?
He did. Shows how badly he wanted to learn from the master. He was the only A+ student Graham ever had.
But Graham himself sounds difficult.
He had this protective coating, the book says. Found it hard to empathize. Apparently preferred reading Gibbon and Virgil to actually talking to people.
Wow. Preferring dead authors to conversation. That's intense.
Yeah, brilliant mind, but maybe not the easiest guy to chat with, even for his star pupil.
So you've got these foundational experiences, these mentors, these early bets. How did he start knitting this all together to build the empire?
Well, a huge piece of that puzzle was insurance, and specifically insurance float.
Right. We saw the early interest with Geico, but then came National Indemnity.
He acquired National Indemnity in 1967, and that's when he really unlocked the power of float.
Explain float again, simply.
It's the premiums policyholders pay up front. The insurance company gets to hold on to that money and invest it for its own profit before it has to pay out claims.
The free money to invest, basically.
Essentially, yes. Other people's money working for you. Buffett realized this was an incredible source of capital. He called it capital allocation. He could take capital from, say, the struggling textile mills.
The original Berkshire Hathaway business.
Exactly. And use this float from National Indemnity to invest elsewhere and generate much better returns. And crucially, he kept the good manager, Jack Ringwald, because you need smart underwriting to make float work.
Got it. So float is key. But he was still using the cigar butt strategy too, right? Like with Dempster.
Oh yeah, Dempster Mill Manufacturing. Classic cigar butt, failing wind pump maker, trading below its book value.
So he buys in cheap.
Thinking he can either sell if the price bumps up or gain control, liquidate assets, maybe bring in new management.
And he did gain control.
He did. But the experience wasn't entirely positive for him personally. He had to fire the manager, Lee Diamond, and he hated it.
Really disliked confrontation.
Profoundly. It showed this side of him, this aversion to conflict that really stuck with him.
Which makes the story of Berkshire Hathaway itself, the textile company, even more complex.
It really does. Because it was another failing business, another cigar butt on paper. He started buying stock planning to liquidate, just like Dempster.
But then something shifted.
Yeah, he got emotionally invested. He ignored the fact it was a terrible business, ignored the lessons from Dempster almost. He just wanted it.
Because it was cheap, and he didn't want the existing manager, Seabury Stanton, to keep it?
Right. He craved it, the book says. He was determined to own it, lock, stock, loom, and spindle, even though it was a failing, futile enterprise.
That's not just cold calculation. That's ego, determination.
A powerful emotional drive. It ended up being a very expensive lesson about buying bad businesses. But in the moment, winning was key. Then came American Express.
After the D'Angelo scandal, the great salad oil swindle.
Huge scandal. Amex subsidiary issued fake receipts for soybean oil collateral that didn't exist, could have sunk them.
But the CEO, Howard Clark, committed to paying back everyone, even though they weren't legally obligated for everything.
And Buffett was incredibly impressed by that. He saw that moral commitment, that integrity, and decided it had real financial value.
So he bought heavily.
Very heavily. It confirmed his gut feeling that, yeah, moral rectitude had financial value, a really key insight.
That's fascinating. But the big strategic shift, the move beyond just cigar butts, that came with Charlie Munger, right?
Ah, Munger. Yes. His influence was absolutely transformative.
The book describes Munger as didactic,
Hmm.
giving speeches on successful living, and mentions his eye injury giving him eternal vigilance. Quite a character.
Definitely. Very sharp, very direct. And Munger basically told Buffett, look, stop buying these barely breathing cigar butt companies just because they're cheap.
He pushed him towards quality.
Exactly. Buy great businesses with strong franchises, things that are durable, that competition can't easily erode. Think brands, think moats.
So shifting from finding, what was it, a gold needle in a haystack of gold.
So just buying the haystack if it was a really, really good haystack run by honest people. It was about quality, not just cheapness.
And See's Candies was the perfect example of this new thinking.
Prime example. Highly profitable, strong brand, simple business. Buffett was unusually enthusiastic about it.
Sending boxes of candy to his grandmate friends.
Yeah.
Scouting store locations himself.
Yeah. It really showed his excitement about owning a truly good business, not just a statistically cheap one. Same with Nebraska Furniture Mart.
This is B. Rose Blumkin.
An amazing story. He bought her massive store for $55 million based on a handshake. No audit.
Just trusted her word.
Said her word was good as the Bank of England. He admired her principles, her honesty, her hard work, how she could undersell the big shots. It reinforced that idea that quality includes the people.
It's clear his business world was evolving, but his personal world seems just as complex and important. Let's talk about Susie Buffett, his wife.
Susie was foundational, absolutely critical to him. He described her as sophisticated, authoritative, generous.
He said things like, I needed her like crazy. She literally saved my life, resurrected me. Intense.
Incredibly intense. Their arrangement was basically she handled the home front, shielded him, created this cocoon so he could focus entirely on his ambitions.
And she seems to have been quite unconventional herself.
Very much so. In segregated Omaha, she deliberately brought Warren into her diverse social circle, including many Jewish friends. That was a bold, even defiant act back then.
Crossing those social lines. She sounds very open.
Yeah, committed to inclusiveness. And she had her own life, too, pursuing singing, became a chanteuse, singing jazz in clubs.
The book mentions her Anne Margaret youthfulness. A star turn.
A corny but sweet star turn, yeah. But eventually their paths diverged geographically. She moved to San Francisco.
But they stayed married. Stayed close.
Deeply connected, yes. And it was Susie who suggested Astrid Menks come into Warren's life in Omaha.
Astrid became his companion, his caretaker.
Susie recognized he needed that female companionship, someone steady. Astrid knew what to do, apparently. Her calm nature balanced his intensity.
So Susie moves out, but facilitates Astrid moving in. That's unusual.
A very unconventional arrangement built on deep understanding and, seemingly, care from Susie's side. Most nights, he'd have dinner with Astrid, play bridge online for hours.
12 hours a week of bridge.
Yep, and a nightly call with Ajit Jain, a very structured, almost monastic routine for a mega-billionaire.
And then there's Katharine Graham, the publisher of the Washington Post. Another really significant female relationship.
A very unlikely friendship on the surface.
Yeah.
He admired her father's work at the Post. When they first met, Kay Graham was apparently wary, intimidated.
But intrigued.
Right.
And he saw she knew almost nothing about business or finance.
Right. And he stepped in, became her guide, her mentor, explaining Wall Street jargon like amortization of intangibles.
Which is basically spreading the cost of non-physical assets over time.
Exactly. He helped her understand people's motivations, became this incredibly trusted ally as she navigated running a huge public company.
They traveled together, went to fancy dinners, which he famously disliked.
Hated the protocol, didn't know which fork to use, didn't drink wine or coffee. Barbara Bush apparently took pity on him once. Kay tried to teach him etiquette.
And the gossip columns noticed them together. Kay throwing her house key at charity events.
Yeah, it highlights that contrast again. Awkward socially, but a financial genius and a loyal friend.
What about his other personal habits? Still famously simple.
Remarkably so. His free time was focused. Bridge, ping pong, poker, golf. Always things requiring active concentration. No walks in the woods or backyard barbecues.
And the food. Hamburgers, cherry coke, dilly bars.
Still his staples. The clothing too, baggy t-shirts, old tennis shoes, a stringy bathrobe. Hated buying suits.
It really challenges that billionaire stereotype.
Completely. And that aversion to firing people we mentioned, it persisted. He dreaded confrontation.
Running like a singed cat from conflict, the book says. A reaction to his mother's rages.
It seems likely he developed this emotional shell, which influenced his management style: delegate, empower, avoid direct conflict if possible.
And that bathtub memory. Making bad memories disappear.
Yeah, a psychological defense maybe?
Yeah.
Especially regarding Susie restoring this ideal vision of her because he needed her to be that ideal.
Fascinating. What about philanthropy? For years, he didn't give much away. Right?
Susie actually ran the Buffett Foundation, focusing on education and reproductive rights, which caused some controversy.
Because of pro-life groups.
Yes, Warren's public stance for a long time was basically, let the money compound. He argued $50 million now would be $500 million later, much more impactful.
But eventually he made that huge pledge to the Gates Foundation.
He did. Apparently Munger encouraged that shift, urging him to start distributing the wealth during his lifetime.
So he built this empire on unique principles, navigated complex relationships. But even the Oracle faced major crises. The Salomon Brothers scandal in '91 must have been huge.
Oh, it was massive. A real test of everything he stood for. Salomon's CEO John Gutfreund and a trader, Paul Moser, were caught in a scheme involving fake bids in treasury bond auctions.
Trying to corner the market, essentially.
Basically, yeah. Breaking the rules flagrantly. The firm was facing ruin, loss of reputation, maybe even indictment. Buffett, a major shareholder, was called in to save it.
A white knight. And he was blunt about it.
Very blunt. His statement was powerful. The nation has a right to expect its rules and laws to be obeyed, and Salomon did not live up to this obligation. No mincing words.
How did he actually fix it? It seems like an impossible situation.
He took over as interim chairman, acted decisively, fired key people, including the general counsel Donald Feuerstein, which sent a huge message. He implemented a whole new culture focused on ethics.
And his testimony to Congress. The dumbest joke line.
Classic Buffett, cutting through the complexity with plain language, calling out the absurdity of Moser's actions. It was about restoring trust, and his personal reputation was absolutely critical.
That line he uses takes a lifetime to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. He lived that.
He really did. And that reputation was tested again in a very different way during the dot-com bubble a few years later.
Right, the late 90s. Tech stocks were going absolutely crazy.
Like a 4th of July firecracker, the book says. NASDAQ Q up 86% in 1 year. And Buffett refused to play.
He wouldn't touch tech stocks while Berkshire Hathaway's own stock was falling behind.
Significantly behind. He faced enormous criticism. People said he was washed up, obsolete, a fallen angel.
That must have been immense pressure. How did he resist?
Pure inner conviction. He just didn't believe in the valuations, didn't understand the businesses well enough to invest. He stuck to his knitting.
He even gave himself a D grade for not deploying capital, but not for avoiding tech itself.
Right. He didn't see avoiding tech as a mistake. And interestingly, the book notes he actually understood the impact of the internet on traditional industries, like insurance, maybe better than some insiders did.
He saw the disruption coming, and he compared the whole boom to what?
Phony riches of chain letters and Ponzi schemes? He said investors might feel richer, but the underlying value wasn't there. Time proved him right, of course.
A painful wait for his shareholders then, but ultimately vindicated. Okay, one more test. The Clayton Homes acquisition in 2003. Why was that controversial?
It was about the price. Buffett made an offer for the manufactured housing company, and he stuck to it. Now or in the future, basically take it or leave it.
And the shareholders weren't thrilled.
Outside the founding family, they actually voted 2-1 against the deal at that price. But it still passed, barely, with just over 52% approval.
Why did it pass then?
Because enough shareholders ultimately trusted Buffett and Berkshire's integrity. They believed his assessment, even if they felt the price was low. It showed the power of that accumulated trust.
And on the day that deal closed, he showed that softer side again.
Yeah, gave his daughter Susie an eternity ring and $1 million birthday gift. A little touch of sentimentality after a tough deal.
So, looking back at this whole incredible journey, what's the essence of his legacy? That simple life of a mega billionaire.
It's such a paradox, isn't it? Billions and billions, but still living in the same house, driving himself, eating burgers, one wife, then one companion, one main business focus. It suggests an intense ability to filter out noise and focus only on what he deemed essential.
And the core investment philosophy, simple rules, but hard to follow.
Deceptively simple. Estimate intrinsic value, what a business is truly worth. Handicap the risk, understand what can go wrong. Buy with a margin of safety, pay less than it's worth.
Concentrate your bets when you're confident. Stay in your circle of competence.
Don't stray into things you don't understand, and let compounding work its magic over decades. Plus, those famous rules.
Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1.
And rule number 3, don't go into debt. It's a whole mindset built over a lifetime.
What about his view on human nature and money, that relentless obsession?
He clearly loved the game. Collecting it ran in his veins as his lifeblood. But it wasn't just greed. It fueled his curiosity, his drive to understand, to analyze, to sit in libraries for hours when others wouldn't.
Which connects to that global search for value, like looking at Korean stocks.
Exactly. In 2004, he's leafing through these thick Moody's manuals, learning Korean accounting standards, figuring out the currency risk with North Korea next door, all to avoid being hornswoggled.
That relentless drive to understand and reduce risk, even in unfamiliar territory.
It shows his process was applicable anywhere if he put in the work.
So the final big question, succession. Who follows the oracle? His jokes about running Berkshire by seance.
He jokes, but it's the multi-billion-dollar question. The reality is he's not replaceable in the same way. His personality, his judgment, his history are all woven into Berkshire's fabric.
His psyche was all wrapped up in Berkshire. How the company maintains that magic after him is the ultimate test of his legacy.
It truly is.
Okay, so as we wrap up our book talk on the Snowball, here's something to think about. Warren Buffett famously said, "Trees don't grow to the sky," warning against irrational exuberance. But he also looked for businesses so good they could be run successfully by a manager with Alzheimer's. What does that contradiction tell you about finding real, enduring value? And maybe, how much complexity do we let into our own financial lives?
It's a great question to ponder. Simplicity versus durability.
We really hope this book talk gave you some valuable insights and maybe sparked some curiosity. For more discussions like this, more stories from finance and beyond, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we'd love to see you there.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring.